Hey everybody, it's Tony with Big T Bariatric and I'm back at you with another video. Today it is Friday. Hallelujah, it's Friday, July 28th. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. If you could do me a huge favor, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment, and let me know what you think about this video. So today I'm doing another My 600 Pound Life reaction. If you've been with me any amount of time, you've heard me talk about how weight loss is mostly a mental endeavor. It's not physical as much as people think it is. So if you see someone struggling with their weight, it's not because they lack willpower. A lot of it has to do with an addiction. It's mental. It's problems that they're dealing with, trying to cope with certain things in their life. And so there's a lot of things that I learned about myself going through this weight loss process, and that's the biggest one. Understanding that I was an emotional eater and that I was using food to help me cope with the trauma that I went through in my life. But a lot of people who are overweight aren't just overweight because they like food. I mean, yeah, that's part of it, but they get something out of that food. That food hits them in the dopamine centers just right, and it's very enjoyable for them. And over time, this enjoyableness sort of decreased in its effectiveness, and so they needed more and more food to keep getting that same level of dopamine. It's just like any other drug. You could start out taking one pill a day. Before you know it, you're taking 6 pills a day. Why? Because that one pill a day hardly does anything for you anymore. And so if you want to keep staying high and keep feeling good, you need more and more pills. It's the same way with food. And so one of the things that they told me after weight loss surgery is to never have alcohol ever again. That's something that they tell people after weight loss surgery because there's a shocking number of people who have the surgery, lose a ton of weight, and become alcoholics.
A new study suggests a startling link between gastric bypass and increased odds of alcohol addiction.
YouTube is full of confessions from people who've dropped weight through gastric bypass surgery, then found themselves drinking heavily.
Why? It's called addiction transfer. They transfer their addiction from one substance, food, to another. And Donald here in this clip is a pure example of what happens even if you're successful, even if you're losing weight. But you didn't really get the mental part of it figured out. So you still have that addictive personality. You're not getting that dopamine from the food anymore, so you turn to something else. And then a whole new set of consequences hit you. So let's get into it right away.
Anyone that's watched even one episode of My 600 Pound Life knows just how hard it is to curb an eating addiction. Dr. Now is the best there is at helping the morbidly obese, but performing the surgery itself is only half the battle.
And I say this all the time. This is my criticism of My 600 Pound Life. Now, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not Dr. Now. But his focus primarily is on the physical side of it. If you have a mental problem and you're trying to solve it physically, how successful are you going to be at it? Not very successful. That's why at the very beginning of the show, what do they say? There's a 5% chance of people losing the weight and keeping it off. That doesn't mean you shouldn't get the surgery. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try weight loss and to save your life. It just means that there's a bigger issue behind it than just getting the surgery, than just dealing with the physical part of it. So my biggest criticism on the show is they do not handle the mental part of it as much as they should.
Dr. Now needs to get these patients in the right state of mind, and he does that with a lot of tough love. So today on Plot Twist, we're going over some of the most unforgettable visits in the history of the show.
Shocks you after surgery when you can do what you want to do. So you want to start living your life because it's been on pause for so long. I'm here to buy some new clothes from my cousin's wedding tomorrow. We'll buy some black pants and nice button-up short sleeve shirt. Look kind of decent before I can even wear it out to the club afterwards.
Donald had his surgery pretty early in the episode, and it's clear that he put in the work to lose a lot of weight in a short amount of time.
The shirt I just put on is a 6X tall, and I used to wear an 8X tall.
You're gonna be a lot of surprised people tomorrow.
My pants are a 64. The last pair of pants I had was a 69.
See, we're seeing some amazing progress from Donald here. He's lost over 200 pounds. He's fitting in some new clothes. He's feeling great. He's doing things he couldn't do before. And I'm right at that area. I've lost 200 pounds. I've not been able to afford new clothes yet, so I'm still wearing all my 9X monstrosities. But hey, you know, it's a great thing to be able to fit in clothes again. The other day at work, we had an important client coming in, so they told us to dress in business casual. So I was trying on my jeans that I had, and they would absolutely not fit me. They were falling off of me.
Tiene que cogerla de esa manera.
even with a belt, so I couldn't wear them anymore. So I went to work being apologetic, like, I'm sorry, I got to wear these black shorts. It's the nicest outfit that I have. I was wearing this shirt too, so it looked kind of nice. And they're like, oh, that's okay. So I was kind of worried that I didn't have any pants or jeans that I was able to fit into. So I'm hoping by winter time I can actually get some pants and jeans and some winter clothing that I can now fit into. Because in years past, when winter would come, I'm wearing shorts. Why? Because I can't fit in pants. I couldn't find anything my size. And clothing for super obese people is very, very expensive.
There are tangible signs to prove that the weight loss is paying off. He's already down 2 shirt sizes and it's not even a year since the surgery.
He's starting to think more and more about his future, a family, a wife.
Yeah, you start to realize that I'm the one that's still single and no kids, and I'm tired of that.
Actually, tonight was the first night that you could really tell how much weight he's lost because he's got some clothes on that are fitting him. I'm just glad to see him feeling good and feeling good about himself.
And look at him moving around out there. Last year at this point, he couldn't even walk to his mailbox. So why is he on the list if everything is going so well?
Wow, see, this is exactly how I feel right now. And you guys, again, hear me talk about it all the time. I even made a joke in the last video where I was like, all right, stop talking about it. We know you want to be in a relationship. But this is an amazing thing to finally be in this position where you've lost this weight and you're realizing, wow, I lost 20 years of my life. I should have been married by now. I should have had kids by now. I should have been able to move forward with my life. But I'm just now doing it at this age. So, yeah, he's in the exact same position that I was in. This is also why you shouldn't let up on your goals, because it's easy to say, I've lost 200 pounds, I'm ready to move on with my life, that's great, but then you kind of take your eye off the ball sometimes, and we'll see what happens.
And I was doing good. I done lost 300 pounds. I fell one day, and that's it.
Yep, Donald had a bit of a setback, and fortunately, Dr. Now had the foresight to keep him in the hospital.
He was acting kind of weird. He was saying stuff that, kind of off the wall stuff, so I just thought, it was really nothing.
I'm scared. Put me in that bed. Get him out.
This is more than your average setback. Something has gone horribly, horribly wrong with Donald's health, and Dr. Now is really the only thing standing between him and death.
The only thing we hear is pneumonia with a viral infection and other complications. I don't even know if they know what the hell's going on.
We think it's a temporary situation, but we don't know yet.
God, this is awful to hear. To be making that much progress only for this to come up is truly heartbreaking.
I thought it was the flu because he'd been sick all week, coughing, and he was dry heaving.
And we just found out today he was on crystal meth.
Yeah, that's absolutely heartbreaking to have all that progress, to lose 300 pounds, to start moving forward with your life. You finally fall in love with somebody. You're wearing all these nice clothes. Everybody's noticing how much weight you've lost. And then all of a sudden, you're back in the hospital. You're in a coma fighting for your life. What happened? That addiction bug bit him again. So even when things are going great in your life, there was still that part of him that was not fixed. He got the surgery, he was fixed physically, but that mental part was not fixed. He still did not deal with that part of it yet. You might be wondering, how can you lose 300 pounds and say that that mental part wasn't fixed yet? You can have some progress. You can do well for a little bit of time, but that doesn't solve the problem. Again, you're solving a little bit of it. You're putting a little Band-Aid on it. That might stop a little bit of the bleeding, but in reality, you're not solving the whole issue. And then Donald ends up doing crystal meth, of all drugs.
But don't take my word for it. One taste, and you will know.
When you're a small person, those drugs can mess you up and put you in a coma and basically kill you. But when you're bigger, again, the consequences of that are even more dramatic than if you're smaller, because your body is already struggling. Your respiratory system, your heart system, your brain, all that stuff is struggling. Even after losing 300 pounds, you're not out of the woods yet. One of my biggest fears is still having a heart attack, still having a stroke. And this is why a lot of people fail their diet, is because they think they have a little bit of progress, but then that mental part of it that they didn't solve comes back into play. And if it's not food and gaining weight back, then it's drugs, it's alcohol, it's something else altogether, and that's scary.
How did you find out?
The girl that he's in love with is a big user, because she's got no consideration for her own life. She's bringing Donald to the same point.
I don't know, it's crazy. Donald don't need all that drama.
And this is another reminder of why it's important not to date somebody or get in a relationship with someone who has a problem with addiction. That's why you don't meet somebody at rehab and fall in love with them. That's why as a fat person, it's not a good idea to date another fat person. Even if you're a skinny person and they say, okay, well, how come you're not dating me? Is it because you're fat phobic? Is it because you don't like me? It's no, because you have an addiction. I have an addiction too. And when you have two people with an addiction who get together, the odds of things going well are not very good at all. The odds that you're going to relapse with that person is significantly higher because you're both struggling through the same thing. In this case, I don't know the size of Donald's girl. I don't know if she was a big girl. I don't know if she was smaller, but she had a drug issue that ended up being something that Donald can turn to other than food. So it was an outlet for him because he didn't deal with the mental part of it. And then before he knew it, he was relapsing with another addiction. It wasn't the food. That's great. He lost 300 pounds. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter if you're back in the hospital fighting for your life and in a coma.
Meth will always mess up even the healthiest people, and even with all his weight loss, Donald is still a long way from being healthy.
After the surgery, he was actually going to be able to start his family and do what he needed to do to, have a girlfriend, get married, lead a normal life, so to speak.
When he was big, he wanted to meet somebody that loved him for what he was. He wanted to get married and have kids before he's 40.
Say no to drugs, kids. Seriously. Donald was on track to getting his life back, and now one terrible decision might have taken all of that away.
It's very hard to say how long it would be before he is completely recovered and able to walk and act normally.
This shouldn't happen to him. I guess life just gives you setbacks. It just depends on how strong the person is. You get ahead of it.
Boy, even if Dr. Now can treat him, it doesn't sound like this is going to be a quick fix.
I feel like I was doing good on my losing weight and getting going, and just want to know why me when I was doing so good.
It's very easy to call this a setback, but is it really a setback or is it much, much worse than that? When you're in that state where you're extremely vulnerable physically, having a setback is something that can devastate your whole life. That's why if you're going to try weight loss because you need to do it to save your life, it's best to know what you're doing. It's best to not take advantage of your progress. You need to take it seriously and think of it as a lifestyle change for the rest of your life, which should include therapy to help you overcome whatever it is you're trying to cope from. It means getting people behind you who's really going to support you. It means getting away from people who are going to make you relapse or enable you or hinder you from getting the success that you need. Yeah, that means pushing people out of your life, even if it's a parent, even if it's a grandparent, even if it's a loved one, even if it's a spouse. If they're not going to support you, and we covered that in the last My 600 Pound Life reaction, how some of these spouses even, they were so caught up in being lustful over somebody's fat figure that they were trying to tempt them the day after they had surgery with hamburgers, which would have absolutely killed her if she had eaten it. Not everybody's going to be supportive of your journey, but you need to do it to save your life. And if that means pushing people out of your life, then do that. Why am I being picky when it comes to meeting somebody? I've had so many people like Big T, life is short. Go meet somebody. Go do what you want to do, man. Go get your rocks off. Enjoy life. But seriously, what's the point of jumping into a relationship with somebody who's going to help me relapse and get me back to where I was? And yeah, even after weight loss surgery, I can reverse course and start gaining weight again. That's not something that I want to do. Hopefully it's not something that you would want to do either. So yeah, I'm being careful with who I meet. I'm being careful with who I end up in a relationship with.
The good news is that Donald's awake, but he's rightly questioning why this had to happen to him.
Guillain-Barré starts with the feet and sort of progresses up the body. And in someone like Donald, it involved his arms, belly, and then finally his breathing muscles were involved as well. The insulation that covers the nerves can take a long time to come back. And until it's completely healed, you won't see complete strength in the arms and legs.
They said the recovery time is going to be about 43 months.
That is simply demoralizing, but at least there's a recovery time, and Donald survived and awoke from the coma.
So an update on Donald, he did get diagnosed with a rare disorder that I cannot pronounce, so I'm not even going to try it with my stutter, okay, so don't even ask. But he did end up getting put in a wheelchair, and he did gain 200 pounds back, but then he ended up losing a lot of it, and so he's doing really well right now. He's surviving. I don't know if he's single or married or what's going on in his life beyond that. There aren't too many details beyond what you see on the show. But he is doing okay right now, despite having a rare disorder. Just because you lose 200 pounds doesn't mean you're good. Just because you lost 50 pounds doesn't mean you're good. You can't let up, ever. This is going to be a struggle you're going to have for the rest of your life, especially if you have an addictive personality. Sometimes that addictive personality is passed down from person to person. Your parents were addicts, your grandparents were addicts, and so forth. We call it generational curses. If you struggle with something like that, you're never going to be done fighting it for the rest of your life. Never. It's very easy to gain weight after losing weight. It just is. That doesn't mean genetically you can't lose weight like a lot of fat activists say. It just means you're going to have a difficult time with it. Anyways, that's my video for today. I hope you guys got something from it. I greatly appreciate you watching. Again, please like, please subscribe, and please leave a comment. I greatly appreciate it. I love you guys. Hope you have a great weekend. God bless you.